The DoD seeks the business of around 300,000 different contractors on an annual basis to satisfy its needs domestically and internationally. In other words, it provides billions of dollars in revenue for nearly 500,000 organizations. Although that is good news, it's also a logistical nightmare. A large majority of those organizations that contract with the government work with controlled unclassified information, or CUI. Although it isn't the highest level of classification for information, it's still sensitive in nature. The reality is that there has to be a huge push across the globe in both public and private sectors for better cybersecurity implementation. In fact, almost 70% of companies plan to increase their budget in order to comply with laws and regulations. Now, I don't think what I'm about to say is necessarily the case, but it seems like that statistic is almost directly targeting the DoD contractors. One of the biggest reasons why I jokingly think that is because of what the DoD introduced on January 31st, 2020. Of course, what I'm referring to is the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or Cmmc. Now, when Cmmc came out, it shook the ground for DoD contractors. It requires that all 300,000 of them instill different cybersecurity safeguards based on where they land within the supply chain. The main argument you could make to my point is that Cmmc isn't necessarily a requirement until 2025. Now, although that is a valid argument, the deadline wasn't put in place for contractors to procrastinate. Cmmc's deadline is so far in the future because the DoD wants to give enough time for its contractors to fulfill its requirements. Of course, accomplishing everything Cmmc asks requires some upfront time, effort, and budgeting. Thus, the main question for many owners of DoD contractors is, how much is the Cmmc certification going to cost me? Hi everyone, I'm Matt from Tactics, and today I'm going to give to you a Cmmc certification cost analysis. Before we get started though, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the button below. While you're down there, hit that alert bell icon next to it as well, so when we post new helpful content, you get notified. One of the biggest takeaways from this video is to know where you fall within the Cmmc ecosystem and how it has a direct impact on your budget. The DoD classified 5 levels of Cmmc. In the accreditation body's own words, the Cmmc model in effect provides a means of improving the alignment of maturity processes and cybersecurity practices with the type and sensitivity of information to be protected and the range of threats. Cmmc levels can also be characterized by the type and sensitivity of information and this alignment, or more simply, their focus. To put it more simply, how involved you are with the sensitive information that you deal with likely determines what Cmmc certification level you need to achieve. Now, that's only the tip of the iceberg, but it's a starting point in your budgeting when trying to determine Cmmc certification costs for your organization. Now, before I go into and justify the cost associated with achieving a Cmmc certification, let's look at the estimated figures published in International Defense Magazine provided by Chess Consulting, LLC. According to Chess Consulting, there are 3 main factors in determining the cost of this certification: average non-recurring engineering costs, recurring engineering costs, and average assessment costs. Adding up all 3 of those equals a total annual assessment cost. The higher level of certification you're seeking comes with a higher annual assessment cost. The ballpark figures per level are $1,000 annually for level 1, $28,000 annually for level 2, $60,000 annually for level 3, $372,000 for level 4, and $484,000 for level 5. Another important aspect to understand are the factors that justify certification costs. Let's say you're the owner of an organization that provides specialized HVAC equipment to the DoD for military purposes. You're based in Ohio, but you have 15 other satellite locations. Although the specification requirements that the DoD provided you within its contract with you aren't anywhere near as sensitive as classified information, it's still sensitive in nature. Thus, you're most likely going to have to pursue a Cmmc Level 3 certification. Knowing what level you fall under is great for your budgeting purposes. However, let's say that you've never set up anything related to remote work because your team always worked at your headquarters. Since that's the case, you have a lot of work on your hands and you need to meet the requirements laid out in the access control or AC controls. There's a lot to unpack there. In this scenario, it's safe to say that the maturity of your current IT and cybersecurity infrastructure in relation to what's required isn't necessarily mature. Now, it's not terrible, but it doesn't fit all of the control requirements listed by the Cmmc AB. Since achieving Cmmc is pass or fail, you wouldn't make the cut to win bids with the DoD come 2025 if you didn't start implementing changes right now. It's also important to note the size and complexity of your organization. The 15 other satellite locations that you have also need to follow every mandated level 3 control. The point I'm trying to make is that there are a lot of factors that go into determining what your CMMC budget should look like. Where your current environment stands and what level you are trying to achieve are the two biggest factors for budgeting. The last part of this CMMC certification cost analysis video that I want you to understand is the availability of the Cmmc AB Marketplace. The Cmmc AB Marketplace is a web page for DoD subcontractors to visit to find third-party assessors and consultants to help them. Subcontractors may visit this web page, search for and find authorized C3PAOs, C3PAO candidates, licensed partner publishers, licensed training providers, provisional assessors, and registered provider organizations, or RPOs. At the time of recording, the marketplace lists well over 2,500 different Cmmc AB approved organizations and consultants. The Cmmc AB Marketplace makes it easy for subcontractors to take a look at every entity that's registered to help them achieve their CMMC certification. Since the DoD made third-party assessments a requirement, it's helpful that they provide a centralized location where all of those assessors exist. In other words, subcontractors can visit the marketplace and evaluate each listed entity until they find the right fit from a budget perspective. Now, there are many factors that affect the cost of a CMMC certification, but the biggest factors that determine the costs associated are what level you're trying to achieve, the complexity of your organization, and where your current cybersecurity environment stands. On top of all the upfront costs associated with becoming CMMC certified, there are also the ongoing maintenance costs with it. Luckily, that investment is much lower on an annual basis in comparison. If you'd like to learn more about CMMC, reach out to me Tactics. And you already made it this far into the video, so you might as well like it, share it, and comment below. Well, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to our YouTube channel.